He sits on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He's also an Army combat veteran. Senator, thank you for joining us. Obviously, we have topics we want to talk to you about. This is essentially breaking news. It's just happened. We'd love to get your thoughts on what's happening in Mexico before we move further.
Well, I think it's a great step by the Mexican government to take out this cartel leader of one of the most important cartels in Mexico. And as part of a broader effort by the president, he promised to stop the flow of fentanyl, secure the border, prosecute and go after the cartels in the United States, and use our military selectively like we have in Venezuela to take out the drug boats. Part of this is working with our allies like Mexico to focus on these cartels. So this is a good step forward. I'm in touch with some Pennsylvanians that are stuck in Puerto Vallarta, so we're monitoring the situation very carefully. But this is a great step by the Mexican government to take out this cartel leader. Yeah, there's probably a lot to be discussed about why the Mexican government felt empowered or motivated to take this step. Hopefully we'll have a chance to cover that later. I want to turn now to what we thought would be the big story tonight when it comes to foreign policy and our military. President Trump's given Iran 2 weeks, I think it's 14, 15 days to reach a deal. We don't exactly know what all of that is. I know Steve Witkoff is kind of sounding the alarm on Iran's nuclear program. We're going to listen to him here.
They're probably a week away from having industrial grade bomb-making material. And that's really dangerous. The president asked me that this morning, and I don't want to use the word frustrated. It's almost because he understands he's got plenty of alternatives. But it's curious. He's curious as to why they haven't, I don't want to use the word capitulated, but why they haven't capitulated.
My question to you is kind of simple, but it's not. What is the better outcome? Is it to strike Iran and take the regime out, or bring it to its knees, or is it to reach a deal with a regime that generally doesn't honor their deals? I mean, what do you think, as a senator sitting on some of the committees, being a combat veteran yourself, what do you think is a better outcome for the United States?
Well, I think you have to start with Iran has blood on its hands. It's killed thousands of Americans through its support of terrorist activity around the world, and it's threatened with real possibility using nuclear weapons against the United States and Israel. So this is a bad regime that's shown itself to be bankrupt. And I think what we're doing is tightening the noose to try to essentially have regime change. It's bankrupt economically, it's bankrupt in terms of its military capability, and its people are protesting in the streets. If I thought we could get a deal with Iran that we could trust, obviously that'd be better, but I ultimately think they're probably untrustworthy. So I think continue to put the pressure on. That doesn't mean boots on the ground. By the way, there's lots of ways we can add additional pressure with military capability. I think the president's kept all his options open and is increasing the pressure. And I suspect we'll see regime change. I don't know if it's days or weeks, but I think we're on that path.
There's plenty of military capability in the region right now, that's for sure.
Senator,
that's for sure.
Speaking of increasing the pressure, I want to bring it back home right now to the Save America Act, which has passed the House, but Senate Democrats are still blocking it. President Trump is calling for, a change in those filibuster rules, or a massage of them, I should say, so that Republicans can get that bill over the finish line. I've often said on this show, I think that the Save America Act is all that matters. It's what's most important to me and to millions of Americans who want to have faith in the integrity of our elections. Do you support that move with the filibuster in order to get this thing and voter ID across the finish line?
Yeah, I gave a speech on the Senate floor last week where I said, listen, this is critical that we do this. It's an 80-20 issue. And if a body of 100 senators can't get 60 votes to move this forward, it shows just how broken our legislative process is. So, yeah, I am in favor of forcing those who oppose an 80-20 issue to get on the floor of the Senate and explain to the American people why they're not for voter registration, voter ID. Listen, nobody knows better than I do that every vote counts. I lost my first election by 900 votes and won my second one by 15,000 out of 7 million cast. We need to give our voters confidence that the votes that they're seeing are legitimate ones, and this is critical to do. So I agree with you. An absolute priority. Let's make those who oppose it defend their positions.
Senator McCormick, Molly Line here. Thanks for being with us tonight. You mentioned, just as we began this conversation with you, some of your constituents who are in Mexico. This is the major breaking news that we're following, just beginning to get information. But there are reports of gunfire at the airport near Puerto Vallarta as well. There a huge airport, about 18.7 million travelers going through there in Guadalajara. And now we have this huge winter storm that's unfolding across the eastern seaboard right now. So it's challenging for people to get flights, to get back to the United States. And now we have this unfolding situation. What are your thoughts now, just as this is beginning to get underway, as people at home are concerned for their loved ones and people there in Mexico are sheltering in place?
Well, it's a dynamic situation, so you always need to be careful what you're hearing on the ground. But the State Department's issued a warning, a message, which is if you're a traveler in the area, hunker down. Go to your hotel room, go to wherever you're renting, and just stay in place. The airport's closed at the moment. The people that I'm in contact with have been able to look out the window, see cars on fire, see people on motorcycles, sort of gangs on motorcycles on the streets. So it's a very dangerous situation, and I think we'll watch the Mexican authorities. My guess is they'll regain control relatively quickly, but at this point, I think the answer is hunker down. And as for the travel here in the United States, we're all hunkering down here in the Northeast, getting ready for what seems like a big storm. So I'm expecting a pretty disruptive couple of days.
Senator McCormick, it's Mark Thiessen. I want to bring it around full circle back to Iran. So, right before the Venezuelan operation, President Trump spoke to Maduro, and he said, you have to leave the country or we're going to remove you from power, and he refused. And Senator Cruz reportedly just met with President Trump and was told by the president that we told the Ayatollah they must leave the country or hand over power immediately or they will be removed from power. Do you think that's where we're headed right now? Should the Ayatollah learn from Maduro's mistakes?
Well, listen, I think what President Trump has shown that if he says he's going to do something, if certain actions aren't taken, there's a pretty good chance he's going to do it. At the same time, he's created a situation where he's got a wide range of possibilities in terms of the actions we can take. I think what we need to do is continue to just tighten the noose. Tighten the noose with economic pressure, tighten the noose by standing tall and supporting the people in the streets in Iran. We've got all sorts of kinetic capabilities that go far beyond putting boots on the ground with missiles, with cybersecurity. And I think we need to continue to make that pressure grow. And I do think that the best thing that could possibly happen is the Ayatollah rides off into the sunset, and we have a path towards self-determination for the people of Iran. I don't think that's, I suspect that'll be a little bumpy, but that's where we want to get to. And it's good for America's interest, it's good for the region, and it's certainly good for the people of Iran who deserve much better.
Real quick, before we let you go, one aspect of this I think people haven't talked about enough. Russia hit Ukraine last night or yesterday. A lot of times when they do, they're using Iranian-made drones, the Shahed, and there's a few others. I just found on Reuters that Iran's buying $600 million worth of shoulder-fired rockets. I don't know exactly what those are, ground-to-ground, ground-to-air, from Russia. So there's this Russia involvement. Is there any worry or concern that, getting too much pressure in Iran sparks up Ukraine again, and that one kind of teeters the other when maybe Russia doesn't want us meddling in Iran like we are?
Well, I think there's no doubt that there's dots be connected between Iran, Russia, and China. But my view here is, and the president's doing this, we are operating consistent on all our interactions in Ukraine and in Iran in the interest of the United States. It's in the interest of the United States to have regime change here, to take away this threat of terrorist financing and the nuclear capability. We need to do that in a way that ultimately is at least chaotic as possible. We learned the tough way. We all did in 20 years of war in Iraq that this can be very messy. So I think we need to enter this with humility, but with conviction and continued pressure. And I think that's what the president's doing.
Senator Dave McCormick, obviously, thank you for your service, and thank you for coming on with us tonight as well.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.